All right, so those of you with difficulties in your knees, then just have a look at the screen and you'll be able to see the option of Virasana. Now what I'm going to do is to grab myself a brick. Now you can replace this with a couple of foam pads, whatever you feel comfortable with. But what I want you to do is to be mindful now of where your legs start to move. The thighs, I mean. So I know for me that my thigh, this hip is tight, it's difficult to get onto the outer shin. So I'm going to move my thighs just a little bit apart, although my feet are gripping the brick. So those of you in the alternative option, you will have, as you've seen on the video, your feet gripping a foam pad. So be in that position. Now we're going to go through Garadasana. Now I know some of you really struggle with this, but in my own personal practice it is such an important pose at the minute because I'm trying to get these shoulders to become very broad for some of the inversions, and you have to see that this area in the back body is so broad. So just have a look and see. What I'm going to do is to come into Garudasana. You can see the Garudasana isn't too bad. I've got very short arms, but also very tight shoulders. So the Garudasana is here. Now, don't you worry if your Garudasana is here, because you can straighten the arm and bring this arm to help you. Can you see this? So you can slide this arm as a lever to really encourage this sliding. You can see, if you find that actually there is no way you're going into this pose. So those of you who can manage it, then you come into your Garadasana. Those of you who find it really challenging, then you will need to be working on the option just showed. So you're going to be in this position. Now, you have to do something with this. I know students with really long arms always say, don't feel anything. So, when you're in this position, you want to see that you are encouraging the whole back to move towards the end of the mat. So although your arms are trying to stay put, they want to go with the shoulder action, you have to see that those shoulders, back shoulders, are leaning away from you. Leaning away from you. And it's quite challenging. Leaning away, and at the same time you've got to keep these forearms absolutely vertical, absolutely upright. So you probably feel that so much in the chest. So release the action now, release those shoulders, give them a little bit of a wring out, just roll them a little bit, and we go for the other side. So now see, is this side a little bit more challenging? It is for me. So I'm going to just do a bit of pre-work on this, because this is really where my arms need to get a little bit more awareness. They've had a lot to do of recent months, particularly, you know, all the work that we're doing in front of the computer. So I'm going to give a little bit of manipulation there and then see, yes, it's coming a bit better now. So a little bit of a tight shoulder for the scoliosis side. So you want to see that you lean back towards the end of the mat. All right, come on. Lean back towards the end of the mat. And remember, if it's too challenging, and I know some of you with really difficult arthritic shoulders, then you can do that preparation, the therapeutic action. Really key. Soft inhalation and exhalation. Okay, well done. And you can release that side now. Those of you in the alternative action, then come and sit in Dandasana. Be sure that you are on some support. I'm still staying on my brick, but you can have a couple of foam pads, whatever you think you need to sit in Dandasana. So of course the problem with sitting on a support is that these knees start to really drop down towards the floor, so you don't want any of that nonsense going on. So what you have to do is get more movement in the hip. So those of you who are challenged by the knee bends, then have a look at the screen now. This is what you are going to be doing. Otherwise, those of you who are coming into Virasana, then what I want you to do is to come into your Virasana. Now, it is Virasana, it's not with the big toes together, it's Virasana. Watch your legs, see that it might be that you do have to have your feet, your legs a little bit apart because you're rolling in on one side. My side rolls in, so I've got to make sure that actually I'm not having any of it, no way, Jose. All right, so when we come forward into this action, I'm coming forward, I've got to see that I extend, but I've got to really move those groins because I know what's holding my practice up is the tightness in those frontal hip flexors. So you want to see that you don't overly reach if you haven't got that really good tethered action. So that's your pose, whichever way you are working, whether you're working on the chair or if you are working in a Virasana action, you want to be sure that those groins are really deeply connecting, so you're not stretching out of the pose. Extension comes from that really good stability, so find your stability. Okay, a few more breaths and then release in. Well done. Good. Okay, so we're changing slightly direction now. Those of you who have got a bolster, very good. Otherwise, you will have to improvise. Okay, so you're going to see that you use the bolster. Now, you might need to have something else on the bolster, so everybody can join in with this. You might want to have a blanket on your bolster or a couple of foam pads, whatever it might be. So we're coming for Adho Mukha Svanasana. So coming into this action, my legs are wide, my hands are wide, and then I'm going to say, same thing, I've got to really work, instead of just pushing back. This is a bit like your buttock bones become like your arms stretching back. You want to see that you get them to a point, but then the very top root of the thigh's got to take over. You've got to get broadness in that lower base area. Remember I was saying about the base of the spine. You've got to find that breadth and broadness. And keep going back until your head extends onto the blanket or the foam pads, whatever you are using. So soft inhalation, exhalation. If you need to grip the mat, then grip the mat. But be in this position. So soft inhale, soft exhale. So just see if you can hold it for a little bit longer. I know it is so challenging. I know how challenging these poses can be, especially when you're holding them with so much strength. But what you want to see is that you are able to come into this pose where it's light and your body, your groins are supporting you. Your muscles are broadening so that they support you. Okay, so I know some of you may have come down by now. I know it was a long hold. So just coming down and release in. Well done. Okay, so we're coming for Uttanasana now. So when we come for Uttanasana, we still want to keep the head supported. Now there's several options on this, because if you've got really tight hamstrings, then this pose, doesn't matter how much you've been doing, it's pretty miserable. So let me just show you what you can do, and you can do variations of this. Now I'm using just one brick here, but this I know can be quite a job for most people. My feet are going to be fairly wide apart, and remember that you want to see that as you go down, you're opening all of this lower back region, and then we support the head if that's possible. So you want to see that it's really nice and comfortable as much as you can. So you might need to have a pile of foam pads, but also what's really good is to use a chair, because when you use a chair, you can see that as you come into this pose and you use the chair, it's a little bit more possible. There we go. That's quite nice. We'll put your head onto a blanket. So this works really nicely. And just be aware of your breath. It's the symmetry we're after, not the pose itself. It's the symmetry that you need. This works really well. So just let the head completely release onto the support. Let the head completely release whatever support you are using. So soft inhalation, exhalation. Okay, so coming out of this action. Now I'm going to put this brick here, and I'm going to put this foam pad underneath the blanket like that. So I'm in this position. Now, it might be that you need another foam pad underneath the blanket. So what I'm going to do is to have this right in the base of the shoulder blades. So you can see here, I'll try and get a good shot of zooming in. So you can see where this brick is. Now I'm going to wait a few moments and just let it soften into my bolster, and then take my head onto the support like this. So already I'm in this position where my chest is open so much. Then I'm going to release the legs. Now again, we did this in Dandasana, this action, where we didn't stretch and straighten the legs. We were observing to see if we could go back up into the body. Back up into the body. You've got to reverse backwards here. It's a shifting up. Yeah. All right. So once you're in position, just be there. You can let the feet extend away from you and just relax the feet, but don't let them fall apart. You just want to see that they're in a natural position, because your whole body's being held up, so it's not like your legs have to work in the same way, although the thighs do need to ground down. And what I mean by grounding down is the legs have got to become heavier. So soft inhalation, soft exhalation, be there. So what I want you to do is to be very mindful of your breath now. So when you breathe in that diaphragm area, just in that dome area of the ribs, that you're breathing and expanding your breath. Now what I want you to do with that beautiful energy, it's like a ball of nurture. So you're going to get that breath as you expand into your ribs, into the diaphragm. On the exhalation, you're going to see that you push the breath towards the base of the spine. So just be aware of that. All right, so we're just going to come into a seated position. Now, those of you who find this really challenging to sit, then of course, sit on your chair if that makes it a little bit easier. You've got the work in your spine now, you've got the work in the body. Those of you sitting with your legs crossed, be sure that you're nice and comfortable and that you're not pushing forward with the belly. You want to see that the action is very much how we've been practicing, lifting from the sacral lumbar junction. Now, follow the spine all the way up through towards the chest cavity. So don't just push your chest out. You've got to lift from the sacral lumbar junction. So lifting from the sacral lumbar junction, and then if you're able to bow your heads.